Rani.
Thank you. Mental wealth. The art of being. Being free in a world of noise. What are you noticing? Are you noticing noise? Is it coming from outside of you? Or is it coming from inside of you? And as Deborah beautifully said, what if we played a game that it's only inside, there is no outside? That's an interesting one, isn't it? And I was thinking about inside-out understanding. But if there's no outside, it's not an inside-out understanding. It's all an inside understanding. That simplifies things. Rather than asking ourselves, oh, is this outside in or is it inside out? There's no outside. Really? Wow. Let me try to get my personal thinking to make peace with that. So we've all experienced noise. Maybe even a few seconds ago, or even right now, and it's okay. And just for experimentation, let's play with the concept of noise outside, the external world, and the noise inside, internal world, and see what comes up. It really seems like the world outside is bonkers. Not me. It's crazy out there. It's so noisy. Oh, and social media and the news, what's happening. It really seems a very busy world. And sometimes we try to make peace with that noise, and sometimes we can't even try. It's like we react. We keep reacting to whatever we're hearing. And it seems we have to try to be a certain way with the noise outside. Oh yeah, I know the principles. I know how it works. So I will try to be calm, but I'm not feeling calm. Or I'll try to be upset, I'll try not to be upset. I'm feeling upset. I'll try my best not to be upset. And so there's a lot of trying and wishing things were different. Wishing the world we live in is different. And at the same time, our intellect tells us, oh, the only thing you can control is your own thinking, right? You can't control the world. We can only control how we react to it. And this seems like in the personal development world, you would have heard it a lot of times. Oh, I can't change things. Yeah, I might as well accept it. So intellectually, we know all this and we tell ourselves, remind ourselves, and yet we don't feel it. And so it seems like I need to be a certain way, and there's another way of being. Me too. It really feels like the noise outside is really bothering me. And I was feeling so quiet and zen-like. If only this didn't happen. If only my daughter was doing her homework or not going on social media, or my husband is doing this. And let's not talk about changing the world out there. Let's just talk about what happens within the four walls of the space we live in. And how it feels like someone, and we talked about relationships, right? It seems like someone else being a certain way affects our world. And if only they were different, then my world will be so much better. And so I invite you to consider listening. And you might think, what does listening have to do with the world? And let's just play with this. It's all experimentation. I'm not saying I got the answers, but this is something that's coming to me to share with you. So imagine we all have a dial. All of us have a dial in terms of our listening. When the dial is fully turned up, our listening is so pure. Our listening has very less filters or no filter at all. I love Dennis' metaphor of the spiritual warming, the warm-up. And so we can all, throughout the day, throughout the life, we are in a way fiddling with the listening dial. When we come to the conference of love, possibly it goes up. And then when we think this is just ordinary life, perhaps it goes down. And the invitation, like I said, let's experiment. Let's experiment with the listening right here and now. Because for me, it's all about being practical. How can we make it practical? When I first came across the principles, I did not like it. They said, you don't have anything to do, but I love doing. Tell me what I can do with the principles. It's we also get into doing. And yeah, we can experiment. Because the doing comes from the being. I would like all of us to experiment, especially myself, that I'm here, to just dial up the listening to the max it will go for the time being. And I would call it God listening. We all have a level of listening when we are just a receiver. The filters drop away without us even trying to let the filters go. We all know how that works out. There's very little effort. And we can all possibly think of at least one person in our life or someone that we look up to, whether they are in a family or in a form in terms of a spiritual teacher or in a formless. Pure consciousness, God, love. So we all have a level of listening that you could say, for the sake of metaphor and language, is God listening. And if we were to turn the dial down, imagine, let's call it dog shit listening. Oh yes, but I know this stuff, but okay, all right, but like, who do you think you are? We all can go anywhere we want. It's a creation. Because this is a conference of love, and we are experimenting, at least for the 3 days, and Deborah said beyond, we can fiddle with the dial. And sometimes you might find that your attention wanders and then it's coming down, and it's okay, and is noticing. Dean said it's like noticing when we are not in that good feeling. Oh, it's just come down by itself. And now I that notice it, I can take ownership. Do I want it to be turned down so low? Am I enjoying myself? Or can I have fun with this? Can I be lighthearted and playful and just dial it a little bit up? And my invitation to you is for the next however long we have got, to just keep noticing how it's really okay for your listening to be wherever it is. And know that when you notice it, going below a certain point, then you can again take a breath and pause and say, hey, I would like to play with just increasing it a teeny bit more. Or not. We all have a choice. The first thing I wanted to talk about is perception, our perception. A perception of who we are, who we think others are, and a perception of the world. If it's all inside and there's no outside, our perception is a creation. Our perception is because of the way we are using this gift. What Sydney Banks says, the mystical paintbrush of thought. I really loved when Dean said, we can focus on the thinking or the power, the invisible power behind thinking. Isn't it interesting, when I first came across the principles, I got very confused about the difference between thinking and thought. What on earth is this thing? As a psychiatrist, and also who had been coaching for some time, and understanding about CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, and positive psychology, I thought I got thinking. I really got thinking, right? Yeah, you don't like your thinking? Change your thinking. And I really got confused, and I also wanted to share with people about the true principles, and I was only learning myself. And I was like, sometimes people ask me, what's the difference between thinking and thought? I did my best. I tried my best to explain, and I thought that, oh, I'm going around in a circle. I really can't understand this. And what I'm seeing more and more is that invisible power. And let's call it divine power. Let's call it divine energy. Let's call it divine love. And so whenever we are caught up in a drama of a life, what makes up the drama, obviously, is a lot of stories around what is, and thinking this should not be this. And that creates a noise. And in this world of form, whatever is going outside of us is going on, it is, and a perception of that is through this mystical paintbrush of thought, and how we might be so into the content of what's going on, the drama, rather than looking at, wow, the power behind thought. And knowing that the more we start getting curious and even fascinated by this power that's invisible, is that interestingly we find that our listening, without us even trying to dial it up, our listening expands and the noise reduces. And it's not a doing thing, it's a being thing. And we have all, I'm sure, seen how we have a perception of something and then it shifts. Earlier today when we were here, I was looking at out the sea and the waves. It's like it goes up and down. It goes up and down. And we are part of nature. Our state of mind goes up and down. And sometimes it's like the waves crashing onto the rocks. And sometimes it can be quite turbulent, right? And it's so noticeable. Not just in our thinking, but in our experience, in our whole physiology. And we don't like that state of being this. It feels, oh, I'm contracted. It's not great. Maybe I don't understand the three principles. Maybe I need to read more books or do this and that other. And then when we allow ourselves, that word, that allow, that Deborah used, that allowance, to experience whatever we are experiencing in that moment, even the noise that we are experiencing, and even if you are doing this, I'm having a headache, I'm having a migraine, I can't handle this anymore. When we allow ourselves to experience even that without judgment, just for a few seconds, you can call it 0.15% if you just allow yourself. Knowing that it's very uncomfortable and that's still okay. What happens is that you have a sense that there is more to the waves. It's like you're going under the water to just stillness. Sometimes in life we need to experience this in order to experience the stillness. So we see that our perception shifts as the listening goes from small listening to big listening, from this small seeing to the big seeing, from a lot of judgmental noise or judgmental thoughts to acceptance of what is. What if we are all made in the image of the divine? Again, experimentation. It seems, apparently, it says in the Bible, that we are made in the image of God. So you don't have to be religious, but let's assume for a minute that we are made in the image of the divine. Meaning that we have the power to create anything we like, anything. Jack Prensky's quote comes to mind. All we are is peace, love and wisdom, and the power to fool ourselves. I can't remember exactly what he said, to create this illusion that we are not that. So all of us, no exception, and I love how Bill Pettit says, sorry, you don't get to be very special. No one is special here. We are all, if we are all made in the image of the divine, and we are powerful creators, I call it the metaphor of the King Midas touch. Some of you might remember that King Midas, like anything he touched, turned into gold. So anything we put our attention on, any thought we believe in, becomes our reality. We are so powerful. And because of our innocent misuse of this mystical paintbrush, and us not wanting to be audacious about how powerful creators, we are telling ourselves a big lie. No, I'm not powerful. Yeah, you can be. Denise can be. Beck can be. I can't. I'm not that. So we are playing a very small game, and we are really good at convincing ourselves that I am not a creator. Thank you very much. I can't, because in our head, when we think of creation, we only think of creation that we want to seek, we want to manifest, and it's not happening. I want to feel love, I want to feel calm, I want to feel joy, I want to feel free. I don't feel any of this, so I can't create. And that's how it looks like. That's the illusionary power of the mind. And as a possibility, when we are saying that, we are creating exactly what we don't want. We are so powerful. And if you think about it, the experience you had this morning, each of us, we all have a different experience. And we are not going about saying, hey, what was your experience? Was it better than mine or less than mine? We know that everyone is having an experience. And we have created that experience for us. And the beauty is we can always upgrade our experience of life in any moment. The ultimate being is the same, but the being that we play as a human being keeps changing. Sometimes I know that who I'm being is, I can't be bothered. I was saying this to Daniel. I'm playing I can't be bothered, or I'm just like this. And I used to create that in the past. So Suraj and me, when we were dating, and I used to have that with me all the time. Oh, if you love me like this is who I am. That was like, I don't know, 20, 30, even, oh gosh, we have known each other for a long time. So it was like 25 years ago, even more than that, maybe 30 years ago. I said, but this is who I am. So we do think we know who we are. But it's really fascinating. Who I thought I was 30 years ago is nowhere. It doesn't have any comparison with who I think I am at the moment. And it's still made up. Right now, I'm creating who I am. So the being, we can play with the being of being human. And we keep playing with that. And let's have fun with that. Even like I said, last year, and some of you might not even have been last year, but if you look back at some of your stories and some of your, maybe what you had put in the diary, you will know that you have come, things have shifted for you. And there are things that can improve even more, and it's okay. We are all in this journey of discovery and rediscovery. Mental wealth is our inner, I would say, brilliance. Or you can put anything else. You don't have to use the word brilliance, but it's a radiance. Beyond the noise, beyond our thinking, beyond our assumption of who we think we are, beyond oh, I need to break free from the prison of thoughts. Yes, tools and strategies, sure, test this out. Have fun with it. But the more we know that there's an inner radiance, and we allow it to come through us without masking it, without thinking that I have to get it right. There's a right way of bringing out my inner radiance. No. Just be. And ask yourself, am I enjoying this creation of mine? If not, hey, shall I play a game? It's only a game. Everything's a game. A way of being is a way of being, it's not a doing. All the doing comes from the being. When we start to see, and I like what Kim said last time, I was telling her, where's Kim? There she is. Kim was one of the people who came on stage and shared how she got something out of this experience of understanding the three principles. And I love what she says. It's not different. I was talking there, I'm going to talk here. That's how she keeps showing up. This is what you will see. The more free you feel, you are inviting yourself to be just you. That doesn't mean that we don't do doing. But when we allow ourselves to play more freely, you'll find with the less judgments or the less noise, you will find that you are wanting to play a bigger game. Because the other thing that comes with love is love and service. I'm seeing that more and more. When we are caught up in our thinking, we are consumed by this personhood. Suffering is when we believe we are, who I am is this person only, period. You know what doesn't suffer? A true essence can never suffer. And so the more we shift from a fear-based contracted energy to me, oh, but I can't do that until this happens, to more a love-based system, I would call it, or a love-based energy. And from that place we know that my divine purpose is to find myself, and as I find my way home, I also support someone else find their way home, and we can be co-creators. No one is leading. In a way you can call it leading, but there's a beautiful term I've come across. Look up and lift up. I loved it. So I'm not saying anyone is better off in a journey or not so better off, but the thing is, as we keep looking in this direction and find more and more love, there will be people in our life who might need a bit of support, a bit of lifting up. And we can do it without judgment, just like Deborah and Beth did for Lucy. They just kept giving her love because they were lifting her up, because they knew, they saw through all the facades of hiding that Lucy was hiding. They saw her inner radiance. And similarly, we can look up and say, wow, That's possible for me too. And I know that because we are all the same and we are made in the image of the divine. So as I wrap up my talk, again, it's an invitation. There will be times when it does seem the world out there is affecting how we show up. And just because you come across a principle doesn't mean that you're immune to that. I know that's not true. No, there will be times that you genuinely feel like, oh my goodness, it's too noisy, or I have to do something. And what I'm seeing more and more is a slowing down. As we consciously dial up our listening, something magical happens. Without us even trying to slow down, it's like we are being slowed down. And from the place of slowing down, we know that we can be of service right now, even in this moment. We can give a smile. We can even thank. It doesn't mean that you have to practice gratitude journal or anything. In that moment of just listening and slowing down, that feeling comes back. And you can't escape that. We are designed to feel that. We are designed to, I love what Muji said, it's the perfume of the soul. We all get to smell, even if it's a teeny weeny bit perfume, it reminds us, wow, that's a true nature. So that's the invitation. Continue focusing on the expansiveness of you. Start noticing the fragrance. And sometimes you might look up and they remind you of your fragrance, because if you see that in them, guess what? It's in you too. And because there is no outside, the fragrance is everywhere. It's an invitation. Thank you.